Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about the optional class. In the previous video, we discussed about the what are the Java 8 features. So if you didn't watch the previous video, can you please go to the previous video so that you can understand the what are the available features in the Java 8. Okay. On that, today we are going to discuss about the one of the feature called optional class. So this is the first Java 8 features I am going to explain in this video. So in previously one by one we are going to take up the one video and we are going to explain the concepts. Okay, so let's get into the optional class. So actually optional class is the one of the Java 8 features. Actually, why we are going to use this optional class we need to understand first. Okay, so before going to optional class explanation, first we will discuss about one common issue in our Java programs. So while you are going to write the Java programs, we commonly facing the null pointer exceptions. So because of these null pointer exceptions, our programs are going to terminate abnormally. To avoid these null pointer exceptions, without optional class also we can able to do it. But if you are going to handle the null pointer exceptions without using the optional class, we need to add the multiple null checks. Because of these null checks, our code won't good also. Okay, maybe there is a chance to miss the checking of the sum of the nulls also, maybe the values also. So to eliminate this proper situation in Java 8, we have a concept called optional class. Okay, so we know that this is the one of the Java 8 features. So by using of this Java 8 optional class providing a way to deal with the null values. It is used to represent a value is present or not. So that means, so the main intention of this optional class is, it is only, the only purpose of using this optional class is we need to deal with the null values. Okay, if you know if there is any chance of getting null pointer exceptions in any situation of the object, then we are going to use this optional class. Okay, how before going to use optional class, first we'll reproduce the one common issue, how we are going to get the null pointer exceptions. Actually how, yeah, we already discussed, right? So null pointer exception is a common problem in our application. Okay, so to avoid this null pointer exceptions in our application without using the option class, we are going to use the null checks. So how we are going to use the null checks? So that one, first we will write one program and then we'll create the one null pointer exceptions and we'll handle that null pointer exception by using the normal checks. So once you understand this problem, then we can eliminate that problems by using this optional class. So if you follow one pattern way, you can easily understand the optional class. Okay, so first we'll reproduce the one null pointer exception. Okay, we'll produce one null pointer exception. Okay, before producing null pointer exception in Java, we need to create one class. So that is the main class. I'm going to create one class as optional optional test. Okay, so if you want to run this class, we need to have the main class, right? So that's why I click the main. Okay, now I can able to run this class. But before running this class, so for producing the null pointer exceptions, we need to create one class. Okay, new class. I'm going to create the one person class. Person. Okay, so in this is the person in DTO. So in this class actually we have the variables like name, name, next one is the number. Okay, this two is enough. Okay, so I am going to generate the setters and getters for this class. Click the right click and click the source and click the getters and setters. Okay, select all. generate. Okay, so now I created one class. Now I need to create an instance for this class in my main class. Okay, this is the person class. Person p equal to new person. Okay, so now I'm going to write one sysout here. So p dot get name. Okay, shall we run this code? Right click and click the run as Java application. Okay, so I get the null value. So there is no problem. Why? Because we don't have any name, any value in that particular field. That's why we are getting the null. Okay, this is okay. Now I am going to create one more class like address. Uh, so okay, now create the account info. So I have the one person, that person can have the one account number. So okay, so now I'm creating the line account number. Okay, so now generate the setters and getters for this class. Okay, so now I'm going to make this particular class as variable in the person class. Sorry, data type is account and variable is account. Okay, let's generate the setters and getters for this class. So generated. So now you can try to get the account from the person. So this is the object of the account in the person class. Okay, let's try to run this close. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so this is account we don't have any instance, right? So that's why we are getting the null. So now try to get the particular variable in the account object. Okay, then get the account number. Let's see what you are going to see here. See, you are able to see the null pointer exception in the thread and null pointer exception. Why we are getting the null pointer exception? Okay, in this line we are able to see the null pointer exception, right? So why we are facing this null pointer exception? So actually in person class we have the variables, three variables. On that, account is the one of the object that is the that act as a variable in the person class. Okay, in the account we have the account number. Okay, now you are trying to get the account number in the account, but no, but the instance is not available here. So why? Because we didn't assign that particular object into the person class. So without having the value, if you try to use that particular variable, okay, I am repeating once again. So without having the value, so that means you have the value as a null. Okay, that's it only, right? So you don't have any value. If you don't have any value, so what it returns? It will return the null. Let's see what it returns. Account object, it returning null. So that means you don't have any value here. Okay, but you are trying to get the particular variable in the account object like this. What is the object? Account number, particular variable from the object. So now here you don't have any value, but you are trying to get the account number from the account object. So that is the reason it is returning the null pointer exception. What it means? So you don't have any object instance for the account, but you are trying to access the particular variable from the account object. So that's why it returning the account. So actually this null pointer exception we are going to eliminate by adding the null checks. How we are going to add the null checks? Null checks. Actually, this is the oldest way to handling the null pointer exception. Okay, so in Java 8, we are going to use the optional class to eliminate this null pointer exception. But in the previous, like Java 7, Java 6, we at the situation we use the null checks. Okay, how we are going to check the nulls? Now we are going to see it like before. So now what is our intention? I want to see the account number of the person. So if you want to see the account number of the person, so you need to create the instance of the person. You need to assign the respective variables data to the person object, right? But now you didn't make anything, but you don't know. So this object, as of now I am creating this object, but in real time you don't know. So maybe you are going to interact with the database, or you may be interact with the some third party service. That situation we cannot predict, so that variable is coming or not. So at the situation uh, we need to handle the particular situations. Like for example, I am interacting with some third party okay, let don't make complex, so let's consider this one. Okay, so I have the person, so on that I need to get the account number. So if I access like directly like this, so I'm getting the null point exception, right? So to eliminate this one, I'm going to use the null checks. How we are going to check the null checks? In if statement, I have the object of the person, like P is the my instance. On that, I'm going to get the get account. Get account is my account object. On that account object, I have the my account number. Okay. So before accessing the account variable, first of all I need to check the account object is available in the person object or not. Okay, so I'm going to check if it is not equal to null, not equal to null. Okay, then only I'm going to access this variable. Okay, then only I'm going to access this variable. Else I'm going to print the one string for our understanding. In which condition it is going to execute? Is it is if or is it is if? Okay, in else. Okay, see, let's run the program. See, it is coming to the else. So what we done here? We done the null check. Okay, so we added the null check condition. So that's why it is not throwing an any exception. So we already handling. Okay, before using, before accessing the object, we are checking the object is available or not. If the object is available, then only we are going to access the variable. If it is not available, we are going to see the else conditions. Okay, let's add the account details and see what it's showing. Okay, equal to account. Okay, a dot set account number. So I'm going to set the account number as 123. Okay, so now run the program and see. Sorry, so I created the instance, but I need to add this instance into my person class, right? So account is the one of the variable in my person class. Okay, so now add it, set account and it. So now check this. Okay, now I got the account number. So this is the way handling the null pointer exceptions without using the option class, but it is not suggestible way. Why? Because we cannot predict each, we cannot if you adding like this now, we need to add the multiple null checks. So because of this one, so it will take time to write the code. At the same time, it is not also looking good. But to eliminate this one, we have the feature called option class. By using this option class, we can eliminate this null pointer exceptions easily. Okay, I think you understand how the option null pointer exceptions arises in the application. Okay, now let's focus into the optional class. Okay, so optional class. Okay, so why we are going to use for optional class provide a way deal with the null values. Now you understand what is the null value. If you don't have any if you don't have any instance in the particular variable, so the default it will store the null values. If you try to access the any variable of the object, if the object contains a null, then it will throw the null pointer exception. Okay, so to deal with the null pointer exceptions, we are going to use the optional class. Okay, if you want to use the optional class, first you need to create the instance of the optional class, right? So to create the instance of the optional class, we have the three ways. So in optional class, we have the three static methods. Okay, these are the three static methods. By using of these three static methods, we can create the instance of the optional class. Okay, so in this, I'm going to show the first way how to create the instance of the optional class. So here we have an empty static method. This is the static method. Okay, by calling this static method, we can create the an empty optional instance like empty. So it is an empty instance. Okay, let's see in the first way how we are going to see optional. So this is the optional class. Okay, in this optional class we have the static method. So how we are going to call the static methods? Static methods we are going to call by using the class name. Okay, so I have the class name, then I'm going to call this method my class name dot empty. Okay, so what it returns? It will return the object. Which object? Optional object. Let's see, let's print the instance. I mean sys empty dot hash code. Okay, let's run and check this. What it is returning? It returns 0. What it means? So actually we create the instance of the empty optional class, so that's why it is returning 0. That means we don't have any instance in the optional class. This is an empty optional class, so that is the reason it is returning. If we have any instance in the optional class, so it will return the some random value of. Okay, that means some random hash code. Okay, this is the first way. So actually this is the one way to create the optional instance only, but in real we are not going to create the optional instance like this way. Okay, so now we have another method called off method. This is also an static method. So by calling this one also we can create an instance. Okay, so how we are going to use this of, that's we are going to see here. Okay, so here let's comment this first way. So now we are going to work with the second way, right? So optional dot off. So actually off is a static method. By calling this off also we can create the instance, but it is not an empty instance. Okay, so off method it is expecting one instance. Okay, see, you know, optional method of t value that is accepting one instance of the any class, that is like generic. We can pass whatever the instance if you want. Okay, there is no restrictions here. Okay, so now I am going to pass the person class. Okay, now I'm going to pass the p. Okay, so it will return the person object. Okay, let's print. Previously we printed the hash code is returning 0. So now what it returns, let's check that one. So what it is going to return, okay, see, it is going to return the some random value, means that is the hash code of the this particular class. Okay, so this is the second way of creating the optional class. But by using of this off class, we have an issue. So it only accept the only not null values. That means if you try to pass this null in this particular off method, it will return the null pointer exceptions. But what is the use of using this off method? Yeah, we have the use. What is the use? So if you see here in first I explain you, right? So here we are going to access the account number of the account. Okay, we don't know, after we don't know the object is available of this account or not, but we are trying to get the account number. Once you try to access the account number, then only we know. So there is no value because of these null pointer exceptions. By using of this off method, so by assigning this personal object to the optional itself only, it will raising the null pointer exception before only. Before accessing the variable, directly it is saying to us, so we have null value for the instance. So directly it is returning. So I mean this is also not that much of use of writing program, but we have a one better way to handle this null pointer exceptions, that is the ofNullable. Okay, dot ofNullable. Okay, so actually this is one of the best method to use the null optional class. Okay, if you want to handle the null pointer exceptions by using optional class, you always prefer to use the ofNullable method only. That is the one of the best practice to write the code. Okay, so now I am going to pass the instance of the p. Okay, so it is returning the instance of the person object. Okay, let's print the hash code. See what it's going to return. So it is going to return 0. Why it is returning 0? Actually in person object we don't have instance. So in person object it is carrying the null value. Okay, so if the you are passing the instance of the person, right? So if the passing instance is null, it will return the empty object, like empty object. If it is optional is empty object, it is going to return the 0, right? So previously we already checked by using this empty. Okay, okay, so next, okay, now I am going to create the instance for this. Okay, so I create the instance. Okay, now run the program. See, it returning the some value. So that means if you have null or not null, so if you have any instance, that instance before going to use, you need to check that value is available or not. So if you want check that one, you are going to use the optional class that is available in the Java 8 features. On that optional class also we are going to use the ofNullable method. So by using this ofNullable method, we can handle null pointer exceptions very easily. Why? Because if you use the ofNullable method, if the instance is contains, it will return to that particular instance of the optional. But if the instance is not contains, it will return the empty optional class. Okay, how I showed. Okay, now in optional class we have the two methods. The two methods we need to understand. What are the two methods? Okay, so one is the get method. So this is the get method. So get method, why we are going